All right, so imagine this. You're securing your family's future, and maybe you want to add a little sparkle to your portfolio while also feeling good about where your money's going. Sounds pretty good, right? Well, in today's deep dive, we're going to be taking a look at sustainable gold and why family offices are really jumping on board.
Yeah, it's really fascinating to see the kind of impact investing with aiming for positive social or environmental outcomes, along with the traditional focus on wealth preservation that family offices prioritize.
Right, and we've got a whole stack of reports here that really show that this is more than just a trend. It's becoming a core strategy. But before we get ahead of ourselves, let's kind of break down the basics. When we say sustainable gold, what does that actually mean?
So sustainable gold is often referred to as ESG gold, and that goes beyond just the shiny metal itself. ESG stands for environmental, social, and governance, and it's about applying these principles to the entire gold supply chain.
So it's not just about the gold itself, but the journey it takes from the mine to, I guess, our hypothetical vault.
Exactly. On the environmental side, we're talking about minimizing the impact of mining, reducing carbon emissions, being smarter about water usage, and protecting those delicate ecosystems that are around mining sites.
Makes sense. Mining can be pretty tough on the environment.
Absolutely. And then there's the social aspect, ensuring fair wages and safe working conditions for the miners, and making sure the mining benefits local communities and doesn't exploit them.
It's about making sure that everyone involved in the process is treated fairly and benefits in a meaningful way.
Right. And finally, governance is all about transparency and accountability. Are the companies involved operating ethically? Are they following regulations? And are they being upfront about their practices?
So sustainable gold is really about holding the entire industry to a higher standard.
Precisely. Now, family offices are particularly drawn to sustainable gold for a few key reasons.
Well, family offices are known for thinking long term, making sure that their wealth lasts for generations. So how does sustainable gold fit into that strategy?
Well, gold itself has always been seen as a safe haven asset, a hedge against inflation or market volatility. It tends to hold its value well, especially during uncertain economic times. But sustainable gold adds another layer. It aligns with the family's values, and it lets them build a legacy that they can feel good about passing down.
It's not just about the financial returns, but it's also about aligning investments with a family's ethics and overall mission.
Exactly. And let's not forget the tax advantages. Gold IRAs, for example, allow for tax-deferred growth, meaning you don't pay taxes on gains until retirement. And when it comes to passing that wealth down, a gold IRA can help minimize the tax burden on heirs.
Okay, so we're talking about potential financial benefits aligning with values and tax advantages. No wonder family offices are paying attention.
Right. And this is all happening against a backdrop of rising consumer demand for ethically sourced products. People are becoming more aware of where their products come from and the impact of those choices. And this extends to gold as well.
So it's not just about family offices, it's a larger societal shift towards conscious consumption and investment.
Exactly. And this growing demand has fueled the emergence of green gold ETFs, which make investing in sustainable gold more accessible to a wider range of investors.
That's great to hear. It's becoming easier for everyone to participate, not just those with these massive portfolios.
Absolutely. And on top of that, the price of gold itself has been on an upward trend, which makes it even more attractive from a purely financial standpoint.
Okay, so we've established that sustainable gold is a hot commodity. It's aligned with changing values, it's potentially lucrative, and it's becoming more accessible. But let's get practical. How does someone actually get started with investing in sustainable gold? There seem to be quite a few options.
There are, and a balanced approach is usually the best strategy. You could invest in physical gold like bullion or coins,
Yeah.
but you'd need to buy from a certified dealer who meets those ESG standards that we talked about.
So it's not as simple as walking into any jewelry store and grabbing a gold bar.
Right. Then you have gold mining stocks and ETFs, where you're investing in companies involved in gold production. But here you need to go beyond the company name and really dig into their ESG track record.
That sounds like it requires some serious research. Where do you even begin to find that kind of information?
Thankfully, there are resources available to help with this. ESG rating agencies assess companies based on their sustainability practices. And you can find reports from organizations like the World Gold Council that provide valuable insights into the industry's efforts toward responsible gold mining.
So we can use these resources to kind of look beyond the marketing and see how companies are actually performing when it comes to ESG.
Exactly. It's about aligning your investment strategy with a genuine commitment to a more sustainable future. Now, if researching individual companies feels a bit daunting, Green gold ETFs might be a good option.
You mentioned these earlier. Can you remind us how ETFs differ from investing in individual stocks?
ETFs, or exchange-traded funds, offer a way to invest in a basket of companies, providing instant diversification. In the case of green gold ETFs, they focus on companies that are specifically engaged in more sustainable gold mining practices.
So it's like getting a pre-selected portfolio of companies that, at least in theory, align with those ESG principles.
Exactly. However, it's still important to look under the hood and see which companies are included in the ETF's portfolio and what criteria they're using to select those companies. Not all ETFs are created equal.
So due diligence is still required even with ETFs. We need to make sure that the ETF's approach to sustainability aligns with our own.
Absolutely. It's all about informed decision-making. Now let's circle back to those gold IRAs, which seem particularly popular with family offices. Can you remind us why that is?
Right, we touched on this earlier, but I'm curious to go a bit deeper. What makes gold IRAs such an attractive option in this context?
Gold IRAs offer a unique combination of tax advantages and investment flexibility. As we mentioned, they provide tax-deferred growth, so you don't pay taxes on your gains until you withdraw the funds in retirement.
That's a big plus for long-term growth, especially for those planning for retirement decades down the line.
Exactly. And for family offices focused on estate planning, gold IRAs can be passed down to heirs with minimal tax implications. This makes them a powerful tool for preserving wealth across generations.
So it's about minimizing that tax burden and ensuring that wealth transitions smoothly to future generations. But where does the sustainable part come into play with these IRAs?
You can work with a specialized custodian who offers ethically sourced gold options specifically for your IRA. That way your investments align with your sustainability values while still taking advantage of those tax benefits.
So it's about finding a custodian who understands ESG principles and offers gold that meets those standards.
Exactly. It's about finding a partner who supports your overall financial and ethical goals.
All right, so we've laid the groundwork, we've defined what sustainable gold is, and looked at the broad investment landscape. Now let's roll up our sleeves and dive into the specifics of each option, starting with physical gold. What are the key things to consider when going down that route?
When you're talking about physical gold, the source is really critical. You want to look for gold that's been certified by reputable organizations.
Okay, so we're not just talking about any gold bar. What kind of certifications should we be on the lookout for?
Well, two big ones are the Responsible Gold Mining Principles and Fair Trade Gold. These certifications provide assurance that the gold has been mined responsibly, with minimal environmental impact and with fair labor practices in place.
So it's really about tracing that gold back to its origin and making sure that the entire process meets those ethical standards.
Exactly. And that kind of brings us to the next hurdle. Where do you actually buy this certified sustainable gold?
Yeah, I was just thinking that doesn't seem like something you'd just find at your local pawn shop.
Yeah, you want to find a reputable dealer who specializes in ethically sourced gold. They can walk you through the options, from bullion bars to gold coins, and help you make informed decisions.
So finding the right dealer is really crucial, someone who really understands this commitment to sustainability and can help you navigate all those complexities.
Right. It's about building a relationship with a partner who shares your values. Now, shifting gears a bit, let's talk about those gold mining stocks and ETFs. As we mentioned earlier, this is where things get a bit more complex.
Yeah, you mentioned that we need to be detectives when it comes to those mining stocks. It's not just about picking a company with a catchy name.
Exactly. You have to delve deeper into a company's ESG track record. Really scrutinize their environmental policies, their commitment to social responsibility, and how they govern their operations.
That sounds like a lot of homework. Where do you even begin to find that kind of information?
Thankfully, there are resources available to help with this. ESG rating agencies assess companies based on their sustainability practices. And you can also find reports from organizations like the World Gold Council that provide valuable insights into the industry's efforts toward responsible gold mining.
So we can use these resources to kind of look beyond the marketing and see how companies are actually performing when it comes to ESG.
Exactly. It's about aligning your investment strategy with a genuine commitment to a more sustainable future. Now, if researching individual companies feels a bit daunting, green gold ETFs might be a good option.
You mentioned these earlier. Can you remind us how ETFs differ from investing in individual stocks?
Sure. ETFs, or exchange-traded funds, offer a way to invest in a basket of companies, which provides instant diversification. In the case of green gold ETFs, They focus on companies that are specifically engaged in more sustainable gold mining practices.
So it's like getting a pre-selected portfolio of companies that, at least in theory, align with those ESG principles.
Exactly. However, it's still important to look under the hood and see which companies are included in the ETF portfolio and what criteria they're using to select those companies. Not all ETFs are created equal.
So due diligence is still required even with ETFs. We need to make sure that the ETF's approach to sustainability aligns with our own.
Absolutely. It's all about informed decision-making. Now let's circle back to those gold IRAs, which seem particularly popular with family offices. Can you remind us why that is?
Yeah, we touched on this earlier, but I'm curious to go a bit deeper. What makes gold IRAs such an attractive option in this context?
Well, gold IRAs offer a unique combination of tax advantages and investment flexibility. As we mentioned, they provide tax-deferred growth, so you don't pay taxes on your gains until you withdraw the funds in retirement.
Right, that's a big plus for long-term growth, especially for those planning for retirement decades down the line.
Exactly. And for family offices focused on estate planning, gold IRAs can be passed down to heirs with minimal tax implications. This makes them a powerful tool for preserving wealth across generations.
So it's about minimizing that tax burden and ensuring that wealth transitions smoothly to future generations. But where does the sustainable part come into play with these IRAs?
You can work with a specialized custodian who offers ethically sourced gold options specifically for your IRA. That way your investments align with your sustainability values while still taking advantage of those tax benefits.
So it's about finding a custodian who understands ESG principles and offers gold that meets those standards.
Exactly. It's about finding a partner who supports your overall financial and ethical goals. Now we've explored the various ways to invest in sustainable gold, from physical gold to stocks, ETFs, and those specialized gold IRAs. But like any investment, there are potential downsides to consider.
Right. We can't just paint a rosy picture here. What are some of the risks that investors should be aware of when it comes to sustainable gold?
Well, one inherent risk is market volatility. The price of gold, like any commodity, can fluctuate. It's essential to have a long-term investment horizon and not panic over short-term price swings.
So don't get caught up in the daily ups and downs. Focus on the long game.
Exactly. And another risk to keep in mind is the potential for greenwashing, where companies exaggerate or misrepresent their sustainability efforts.
So it's not enough to just take a company's word for it when they say they're eco-friendly or sustainable.
Exactly. You have to do your research, look for third-party certifications, dig into their actual practices, and see if they're walking the walk, not just talking the talk.
So due diligence is key, just like with any investment. What else should we be wary of?
Well, the regulatory landscape surrounding sustainable investing is still evolving. This can create some uncertainty, as the rules and definitions are constantly being refined.
So staying informed and adaptable is key.
Absolutely. But this evolution also presents an exciting opportunity to be at the forefront of a changing financial landscape.
Okay, so we've looked at the risks, but let's not forget the potential rewards. Why should investors, and particularly family offices, be excited about sustainable gold?
Well, there's several reasons. First, it aligns with a growing global trend. Consumers are demanding sustainable products and services, and investors are following suit.
It's like we're at a tipping point where sustainability is going mainstream.
Exactly.
Hmm.
Second, sustainable gold offers the potential for both financial and social returns. You can grow your wealth while contributing to a more ethical and sustainable future.
It's that win-win scenario we talked about earlier, doing well by doing good.
Right. And finally, investing in sustainable gold sends a powerful message to the mining industry, a signal that investors are demanding more responsible and sustainable practices.
So it's about using your investment dollars to drive positive change within an entire industry. That's pretty powerful stuff.
It is. It's about putting your money where your values are and contributing to a world that's better for both people and the planet.
Okay, we've covered a lot of ground today. We've explored what makes gold sustainable, why family offices are drawn to it, and the different ways to invest in it. We've also discussed the risks and rewards, the importance of due diligence, and the exciting opportunity to be part of a positive change. But there's one more thing that stood out to me in our research.
I'm intrigued. What caught your eye?
It's the idea that sustainable gold isn't just about making a responsible investment choice. It has the potential to transform the entire gold mining industry.
That's a crucial point. As the demand for ethically sourced gold rises, it puts pressure on mining companies to adopt more sustainable practices.
So our individual investment choices can actually contribute to a wider industry transformation.
Exactly. By choosing sustainable gold investors, send a clear signal that they want to see a shift toward more responsible mining.
So it's not just about what we buy, but the impact those purchases have on the entire supply chain.
Precisely. It's about using our purchasing power to drive positive change throughout the industry.
Okay, so we've talked about the positive impact on the environment, on workers, and on local communities. But let's zoom out even further. What kind of global impact could this demand for sustainable gold have?
The potential is vast. If we can shift the gold mining industry towards sustainable practices, it can have a significant impact on climate change, biodiversity, and global poverty.
Wow, those are some massive global challenges. How does sustainable gold connect to all of that?
Well, let's start with climate change. Traditional gold mining is energy intensive, contributing to greenhouse gas emissions.
So by shifting to renewable energy sources and improving energy efficiency, we can shrink the industry's carbon footprint.
Exactly. And that can ripple through the global economy.
If one industry can make those changes, it sets a precedent for others to follow.
Precisely. It creates a model for sustainable development across various sectors.
Okay, so sustainable gold can help combat climate change. What about biodiversity?
With traditional gold mining, with its deforestation, habitat destruction, and pollution, can be devastating to ecosystems.
So by adopting sustainable practices, we can minimize those negative impacts and protect the planet's precious ecosystems.
Exactly. It's about recognizing that everything is interconnected
Yeah.
and ensuring we don't disrupt the delicate balance of nature.
And what about global poverty? You mentioned that sustainable gold could play a role there.
Well, in many developing countries, gold mining provides income for local communities.
But often those communities don't really see the benefits.
Right. Exploitation, unfair wages, and unsafe working conditions are sadly common. Sustainable gold mining can help by prioritizing fair labor practices, community engagement, and a more equitable distribution of profits.
So it's about empowering those communities and giving them the resources to thrive.
Exactly.
So sustainable gold isn't just about a shiny piece of jewelry or making a responsible investment. It's about contributing to a movement with the power to impact some of the world's most pressing challenges.
Absolutely. It's about recognizing that our choices as consumers and investors have power.
It's about understanding that what we buy and where we invest can influence how industries operate and how our world is shaped.
And it's about demanding more from the companies we support, holding them accountable for their environmental and social impact.
So it's not just about doing good, it's about demanding good from others.
Precisely. It's about using our voices and our wallets to create a more just and sustainable world.
That's a really powerful thought. We've gone from the specifics of sustainable gold investing to the broader implications for the industry and the planet as a whole.
It's been a fascinating discussion. Hopefully it inspires our listeners to think more deeply about their choices.
Absolutely. Now, before we wrap up this deep dive, let's bring it back to our listeners' personal journeys. We've talked big picture, but how can individuals, even those not running family offices, apply these ideas to their own lives?
Yeah, that's a great question. It's easy to get overwhelmed with all this information, like how much impact can one person really have?
It's true that individual actions might seem small, but collective action is really where the change happens.
Yeah.
It's not just about what you do alone, but joining forces with others who share your values.
Yeah, so it's strength in numbers.
Exactly. There are organizations that are dedicated to promoting responsible mining practices. And supporting these organizations, whether it's through donations or simply by raising awareness, can really amplify your impact. So you're talking about NGOs, advocacy groups, maybe even some industry coalitions pushing for change from within.
Absolutely. And let's not forget about shareholder activism. If you own stock in mining companies, you actually have a voice in how they operate. You can attend shareholder meetings, ask tough questions, and vote for resolutions that align with your values.
So we're not just passively investing here, we're engaging with the companies that we own and holding them accountable.
Right. And it's important to remember that change rarely happens overnight. It's a gradual process, but every step towards a more sustainable future counts.
It's about persistence, staying informed, and never giving up on that vision of a more ethical and sustainable world.
Well said. And that brings us back to the thought-provoking question that we posed earlier. How can we leverage this growing demand for sustainable gold to drive even bigger changes in the mining industry as a whole?
It is a big question, and we've explored so many different facets of it today, from the environmental impact to the social implications and the power of consumer choices.
And as we've discussed, the potential for positive change is enormous. It's about shifting the entire industry towards practices that benefit both people and the planet.
We've talked about individual actions like choosing ethically sourced products and supporting organizations that are advocating for change. But what are some other levers that we can pull to drive this transformation on a larger scale?
Well, policy and regulation play a crucial role. Governments can incentivize sustainable practices through tax breaks or subsidies for companies that meet certain standards. They can also implement stricter regulations to discourage harmful practices.
So it's about creating a regulatory environment that rewards those responsible companies and penalizes those that just aren't stepping up.
Exactly. And consumer education is also vital. The more people understand the issues, the more they will demand ethically sourced products, and that drives market shift.
That makes sense. Informed consumers are empowered consumers. If people really understand the impact of their choices, they're more likely to make decisions that align with their values.
Right. And transparency within the industry is crucial. Companies need to be upfront about their practices. So that allows consumers and investors to make informed decisions.
So it's about moving beyond just vague claims of sustainability and really providing concrete evidence of their efforts.
Precisely. And let's not underestimate the power of collaboration. When industry stakeholders, NGOs, governments, and consumers work together, they can create a more sustainable future for the entire gold mining sector.
It sounds like it's going to take a multi-pronged approach. Individual actions, policy changes, consumer awareness, industry, transparency, and collaboration across all sectors.
Absolutely. It's a complex challenge, but the potential rewards are immense. Imagine a world where gold mining contributes to a healthier planet, thriving communities, and more equitable distribution of wealth.
That's a vision worth striving for. Well, I think we've mined every nugget of knowledge from this topic. What a deep dive it's been. Expert speaker, your insights have been invaluable.
It was my pleasure. These conversations are so crucial for empowering us to make informed decisions.
Absolutely.
Right.
And to our listeners, we hope this deep dive has equipped you with the knowledge and the inspiration to navigate the world of sustainable gold and to advocate for positive change in all aspects of your lives.
Remember, your choices have power. Use it wisely.
Until next time, keep exploring, keep learning, and keep making a difference.